Thank you, Albertina. So I'd like to welcome you to the Stewards General Meeting session on the role of subnational governments in GIFT. It is an honor to have you all here today for this very important discussion, a key topic in this year's agenda. This is because GIFT has traditionally only had members or partners from the national sphere of government authorities. This is mainly due to this level being the main counterparts that GIFT's lead stewards typically work with. GIFT's operating procedures, however, do not limit membership or partnership to the national sphere of government. Local levels of government typically have more experience in public participation initiatives than their national counterparts, given that naturally they are closer to the people. National levels of government, in turn, typically have more experience in other areas. This is very exciting for us at GIFT because we think we can actually leverage this diversity within the network. For instance, local levels of government could learn from national experiences in the use of technology and public financial management issues, while national agencies could learn from local experience in public participation. In this session, we're going to learn more about the Open Government Partnerships local initiative and from specific local and state governments that have expressed interest in joining GIFT, and one that has actually joined GIFT as a pilot steward very recently, and that we're very excited to have on board. So we have a rich agenda today. We will start off with a presentation from Patrick from the Open Government Partnership on the local initiative. This will be followed by our very distinguished Juan Pablo, our network director from GIFT, explaining more about why this is such an important initiative for the network itself. Then we will hear from the important cities and state themselves that we're so honored have expressed interest in GIFT and have recently joined GIFT. So that is the city of Bogota, as well as the state of Guanajuato in Mexico. So this is very exciting. I'm not going to delay any further from my side. So if we can start with Patrick, please go ahead. Thank you.
Great. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, amazing. We can. Thank you.
So first, I'd like to thank Raquel and Juan Pablo and the entire team at GIFT for inviting OGP Local to have this space and join this session. So I will jump right in. I went too far ahead. Okay, so what is OGP Local? So if you don't know, the Open Government Partnership was founded in 2011 and began working primarily with national governments and national civil society organizations to co-create policies and programs that sought to open government. And in 2016, the Open Government Partnership launched its first edition of OGP Local. And so Open Government Partnership is seeking to bring together citizens with government, civil society, academia, and private sector to make government more transparent, more accountable, more responsive, and more inclusive to the citizens and the people that they serve. And so a brief history on kind of our story. Like I said, we launched in 2016 as the subnational pilot program with 15 inaugural members that worked on one-year action plans. So the main premise of the Open Government Partnership is to have government and civil society come together to co-create action plans that is a series of commitments that will work on a variety of thematic policy areas, including financial transparency, to implement programs and policies, again, working to make government more open. And so after the first initial 15 completed their first action plans, the steering committee of Open Government Partnership decided to expand the program and rename it to our OGP Local. And we got 5 new members back in 2018, and then all locals, so the 20 in total, switched to a 2-year action plan cycle. After this, we saw some pretty great success in kind of the commitments and the results that these local governments were putting forward. And so we took a brief pause at admitting new members and spent a large part of 2019 working on a new local strategy, which was adopted at our summit in 2019 in Ottawa. And we have formally launched the new version, if you will, of OGP Local in 2020, and by welcoming 56 new members into the partnership. So now we have 76 local jurisdictions that work with us. And we are currently working with different regions, states, provinces, counties, cities, regencies, you name it. If it's a subnational form of government, we likely have one of them in our program. We work in all of the regions that OGP works in. So Africa and the Middle East, the Americas, which is probably our most popular region and has the largest, yes.
Sorry to interrupt, but do you mind just speaking a little bit slower, just for the translators to keep up? Thank you.
Absolutely, no problem. So yeah, we work in all of the regions that OGP works in. So as you can see on the screen here, we work with Africa and the Middle East. We also work in the Americas. The Americas region is probably the most active region in Open Government Partnership local program, with that region having the most number of members within the partnership. We also work in Asia Pacific and Europe, and the Eastern Partnership, which is kind of a sub-region of the Europe region. Here's a brief map, kind of where kind of the locals around the world are. The ones in green are the local pioneers, so those are the 15 members who joined back in 2016, many of whom are still a part of Open Government Partnership. And so we kind of have three main areas of work in the local program. The first being national local. And so finding ways in which we can foster multi-level governance, and that is working relationships between local and national governments. And so we're currently working on documenting the best practices. A lot of our national governments within Open Government Partnership have worked with local governments in the past, including within their National Action Plan processes. And so we're also working on having some peer exchanges and learning circles, some of which will take place later this year at the OGP Summit, which will largely be virtual given the COVID-19 pandemic. The second main area of work is what we call OGP Compass, and that is our online knowledge and learning platform and community of practice. And this is where, you know, as working with GIFT as kind of a natural partner of OGP, GIFT actually helped us run 2 thematic sessions during our onboarding process this year, in which they gave 2 sessions, one in English, one in Spanish, on kind of, again, fiscal transparency and how that relates to local open government. So this is also where, kind of like I said, our centralized onboarding is located. So we had different onboarding modules that can be found on this website. This is a website for members only. So government points of contact and civil society have access to this platform, which kind of houses all these resources. We're currently working with some contractors to create a local co-creation playbook. And that's kind of just a detailed document to guide folks through what the co-creation process looks like from implementation on. And also we'll be offering some learning sessions in the new year as well. And then finally, I think the biggest part of our work that you all know is the cohort program. So with the new launch of the cohort, we also launched a new OGP local handbook. And the real reason was trying to make this program more flexible and dynamic, a bit more agile, right, and hyper local. We found that the 2-year action plan wasn't really working. And so for that reason, we made some changes to the, like I said, the handbook here. And I'll show you kind of the main important changes to the program. In the past, it followed a 2-year action plan cycle like national government. And now it is flexible in that it can go for the entire term of the administration. So up from 1 to 4 years. The number of commitments still stays the same at 5, but the new program allows for, once commitments are completed within the action plan, a new one can be introduced. We also now have online submission of action plans, which streamlines the process and streamlines the data. The monitoring and evaluation has kind of shifted from the traditional IRM model, which is an independent reporting mechanism. We used to hire independent researchers to do kind of a full report on the process. But given the expansion, we've changed it to now have local governments kind of select their own context into relevant monitoring bodies, whether it looks like a city comptroller or an academic university working with them to evaluate the plan. So in order to be eligible for OGP, you just have to be in a participating OGP country. You can find that at opengovpartnership.org. We'll list all of the countries that are in OGP. And as long as there are, the national government is not inactive or suspended, the local governments are eligible to apply. And so I'm about to wrap up. Forthcoming is, like I mentioned, in December, we'll be hosting the 7th Global OGP Summit with the government of South Korea. This event will largely take place online due to the COVID-19 pandemic. There will be various local sessions throughout the agenda. And so please do be on the lookout on OGP's social media platforms and our website for the launch of our summit website with the full agenda, which will come out in the next couple of months. And likely at the summit at the end of the year or within the first couple of months of 2022, we will launch a new call for expression of interest for new members to OGP Local. So thank you so much again for having us here. If you do have questions, our email is here at the bottom. Our staff has working capabilities in English, Spanish, and French, and can work around other languages as well. So please don't hesitate to reach out in your native language, and we will gladly answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's really exciting work that's taking place at the OGP. At this point, I wanted to provide an opportunity if anyone's got questions on the OGP Local initiative for Patrick. Otherwise, we will continue with the agenda. If anyone has any pressing questions, there will be an opportunity at the end as well for questions. You can go ahead, Juan Pablo.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Patrick, for sharing this experience. As you know well, it has inspired and it gave us a framework for ourselves being able to start a discussion, an internal discussion about opening up for local government members. There is something that I didn't know, and you just mentioned that surprises me. And this is, what is the logic behind only allowing local governments that are part of national members?
That is a great question, Juan Pablo, and there's been much discussion both internally and externally. I think the main reason is just in order to streamline, like I said, one of the main working areas of the local program is to have this national-local collaboration. And it seems natural, I guess, for us to work with the folks that we work with at a national level. You know, we obviously have seen some national governments withdraw from the local program, or from the national program, I'm sorry. For example, the government of Tanzania withdrew from OGP, and Kigoma UGG was still a member of the local program. And so we allowed them to stay in the program because they were already members and they had joined. So it's not like we'll kick members out. And there are talks about potentially in the future opening it up. I think that would be where we'd like to see the program go. And where a lot of people like to see the program grow is right if we're truly trying to build an open community of reformers globally who are working on these issues and care about these issues, then it would be natural to see other folks from, like you said, countries that may not be a part, but that doesn't negate the fact that a lot of governments locally are working on these issues. And that's equally as important.
Great, thank you very much. I think at this point, if Juan Pablo, you want to share the gift experience in this regard, but perhaps before we do that, we can take a quick photo of all of us to have a record of the session today. So if my colleagues are ready to take a pic, I see I've got the thumbs up. So if you can please switch on your videos if you're able to. If not, that's all right. And Jan will take a quick shot of us.
This
Okay.
is much better when we can see your faces.
Yes, beautiful faces.
All right. In 3, 2, 1, smile. Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for
So with that, Juan Pablo, should I share my screen?
let me try share my mind.
Sure.
And let me ask my colleagues to switch into Spanish. So please listen to, if you don't speak Spanish, please use the translation. We have the privilege of having the translation, and I would like to switch into Spanish, if that's okay with you. Can you see the presentation?
It's currently blank.
Oh, let me see. It's taking a little bit. There you go. Can you see it now?
No, I'm still seeing a blank screen.
Let me try again. Didn't change much from, yeah, it's true, it's blank. Well, let's try with you, sorry, Raquel, helping me out here. Let me stop sharing. Thank you very much. So, con la promesa de hablar en español en esta
Since we had
ocasión,
promised to speak Spanish on this occasion,
me da mucho gusto poder
it is a
see-
pleasure.
Sorry, can you see my screen?
poder compartir. Well, I can see it, yes. Poder compartir la lógica
So,
que nos ha llevado
we could share the logics that has led us to amplify, to open up our arms to the membership of subnational governments, of local governments. The relationship of Gift Network with subnational governments is actually really old, and it has given results. Since I arrived to the network direction, we've had a very good collaboration, always in parallel with the OGP efforts. These local governments that wanted to enter into those openness processes towards citizenship regarding public subjects, including the budget and fiscal subjects. So you have a list of cities there, and we had different kinds of collaboration with them. It was all about participatory budgeting, open contracting, environmental openness, interactive citizens budgets, and which is very important, some portals and the usage of tools and portals to get close to the people. So they were partners up to date. And next slide, please. Now, when the city of Bogota and the government of Guanajuato mentioned their interest to make a formal membership, we defined the rules of the network that didn't prevent in any way the local governments from becoming members. Actually, it is a network that is open to any institution that is a champion of transparency. And to be a champion of transparency, you don't need to be or to live in a city. You can live in the smallest community. Those are the rules that led a possibility so that the local governments would join later on.
Sorry to interrupt, but we're not seeing your video. We're seeing a black screen.
No, you're right. No problem. So we have this issue with my video, but I'm gonna continue speaking because I don't want to take forever because of these technological challenges.
Sure.
And I will join the meeting from another device, and you'll be able to see me, but you know me too. And
Yes,
so let
we
me
do.
continue. But I believe that here it is. You'll be able to show to, and I was, but you know, I still can't find a way to fix my computer, that it's a little bit capricious. Sometimes it just doesn't let me.
So no worries. We know what your beautiful face looks like. So please go
So
ahead.
kind. But you can see me now.
Yes, we can see you.
Gracias de nuevo, Kenta. Me oyen ahora, ¿verdad?
Thanks. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Gracias.
Thanks. Okay. So, from our point of view, a good member of this network is not defined by its location, but by the presence in the network, the will to bring this knowledge and to learn from the network, and that will to be present in the meetings and eventually to provide knowledge and experiences and time. That's the most valuable thing that you have. Now, next slide, please. So we have led this discussion to the lead stewards, the leaders of the network, and this great work team that I have. And for the lead councilors, we already had a very full proposal that was about having these subnational governments as members. And we were thinking on those two subnational governments that had shown their interest. We knew that we had this perspective of having a greater transparency. We knew that we were going to learn a lot of things from the local government's capacity that have less human resources and less financial resources, but that they have this geographical closeness to the citizenship and or this geographical proximity to the citizenship. And since they have these agendas on topics like the climate and sustainability, we have some clear examples here in the United States in times of the government of President Trump. So with that agenda, the leader councilors had a very clear proposal and they accepted it. So those are the main reasons for this acceptance, because they knew that to take advantage of these champions and these subjects, we had to open our doors to the subnational governments. Since GIFT has a smaller dimension than OGP, OGP has almost 80 members, 80 country members, and we have 22 members, country members. And also from the resources point of view, we are smaller. I think that we have 5, but we were asked that if we opened our doors enthusiastically, and with that will of learning, well, that would require a phase of 2 years. So we have these membership applications of 6 months. We are looking for a regional dimension, and we want to have the governments, and if they have the support of the national representatives, we will know that they have this particular interest, and also if they have this experience in political participation. And that's how we will generate the 2-year pilot with the full membership of 4 new members, 4 subnational new members. And then we will do an assessment, an impact assessment. Regarding the local development within the government and within the processes, and we will assess the impact within the network, because we need to assess that impact, and we will analyze subjects related to inclusion. Next slide, please. And also subjects related.
The next one, if you please, sorry.
To the innovation capacity of subnational governments in these topics. What's the level of integration in those governments and the efforts of those governments that are already members of the network at the national level? And from the network point of view, how sustainable is this effort? We will also measure the increase of transparency and the participation activities. Now, since they will become members, they will have the same treatment as other members, regardless if they're civil society organizations or other governments, and we will assess the reports and all of the information shared. So those are the main reasons that had led us to be very enthusiastic and to support this decision. So we took some time to make the format, but we had the greatest image. So I wish to have an excellent relationship with the government of Guanajuato, and we also have the formal application of the city of Bogota. So the leaders of the network supported this decision because of the reasons already explained. It is a pilot plan, and we are following the example of OGP, but we are sure that these efforts of incorporating local champions will come and will stay. So without the local governments, this would be not complete. GIFT is looking for integrity and for comprehensive efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Juan Pablo. Indeed, it's a very exciting time for GIFT. Now we've got the pleasure of actually hearing from the city of Bogota themselves. So without further ado, if we can please hear from the distinguished Secretary General, Margarita Barraquer. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Raquel. As my colleague Juan Pablo, I am going to speak in Spanish. So I ask you to keep switching in Spanish. Please, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Desde la Alcaldía Mayor de Bogotá,
From the main Mayor of Bogota, it is a pleasure to be here with you today. And I would like to greet you and to thank GIFT for having considered the adequacy of Bogota in this initiative as a local member. So I would like to thank Juan Pablo Guerrero, Gifts Director, and all of his team, because they accompanied us in a very important way and they supported us throughout this process. And right now, Martina is the coordinator of technical assistance and collaboration, and we work with her so that Bogota is here to talk to you. So I would like to greet my panelists, my colleagues who are here with us today. And of course, it is also very important. It is a message for all of you who are hearing and who are committed with the transparency topics. Juan Pablo has already presented the journey and gifts framework to assess if the local governments could be a part of this scenario. But why is that important for the local governments to be a part of such an initiative as this one? Why is it important for us as local governments? Since 1950, it is clear that the world population lives within urban centers, and that population has increased exponentially. In 2022, more than 65% of the population lives in the cities, and it is necessary to say that within those cities is generated at least 80% of the GDP at the world level. So that means that it is from the cities where those development processes are generated. So the cities have very big responsibilities regarding promoting these areas.
Estas cifras muestran la importancia que toman los gobiernos
Margarita,
nacionales.
perdona que te interrumpa,
Dale.
pero tenemos, creo, una confusión en los canales de traducción. El ya está listo, muchas gracias. Ya estábamos escuchando en inglés en el canal en español y viceversa, pero ya se arregló. Gracias.
Okay, great. English channel now.
Muchas gracias. Sigo con lo que estaba mencionando.
So as I was saying, that the figures that you just mentioned underline the importance that subnational governments have for facing the global challenges. Also, subnational governments have very important budgets, and mega cities generate not only high GDPs, but also manage resources that are in general moving the development process of the country. Bogota has a population of more than 7.5 million people, and it generates an annual GDP of 260 billion pesos, which is the equivalent to $67 billion. And this is 26% of Colombia's GDP. This is 26%, which is higher than the total GDP of countries such as Panama, Bolivia, and Paraguay. I think these elements underline the importance of subnational governments, and subnational governments have a strategic role in everything that relates to innovation and the promotion of the participation, and also in the promotion of transparency, because the closeness of subnational governments to the citizens and to other subnational institutions that have a political influence is definitely necessary. As part of GIF, Bogota seeks to adopt the best international practices and also contribute with its innovations and the policy progresses to other countries and promote the participation and the transparency in a joint manner. It is also important to involve the metropolises in
internacional puede tener un efecto multiplicador.
Movement, and this could have a multiplying effect, because in most countries, cities have always the eyes on the big cities, and they try to imitate or to adopt good practices that are working in the big cities. In these big cities, there are great opportunities in order to improve localization and the implementation of global development agendas, like the 2030 agenda, which is a universal agenda, proposes developments that are not detailed in the realities and the processes of the subnational governments. This is why it is important to translate the global and global objectives into the local level, so that from the subnational levels, these objectives can be adopted properly. For us in Bogota and for the district administration with Claudia Lopez at the head, it is very important to take into account what I just mentioned. And this is why our development plan has a very clear proposal for the long run and in order to consider the sustainable development goals in the long run. We have proposed the construction of an open, transparent government with a conscious and aware citizenship that understands that the public exercises are something for the long run and that we are guided by the accomplishment of the sustainable development goals. Planning the development of the city based on SDGs is very innovative, at least in Colombia, because this is a strategic planning process in which a subnational government has the capacity to generate a long-term horizon and also define the use of public resources, not in function of one administration, but based on the goals that we have established as human beings to reduce poverty, eradicate hunger, gender equality, the protection of the environment, and decent work, just to mention a few of these goals we have as human beings. The connection with the SDGs is not only a strategy, we have at the district planning secretariat, we have a monitoring plan in order to see how we're complying with the sustainable development goals and what we're doing in the city to attain them. One of our first activities with GIFT was called Explorar 2021, which focused on the citizens analyzing the budget assigned to the city of Bogota in order to reach the sustainable development goals. And we focused on the inequality of access to opportunities and climate resilience. One of the most important reasons for transparency and for collaboration is the strategy of open government, and we are seeking to establish participation of the citizens that allows them to make decisions and also to monitor public expenditure in order to generate a better citizen public value. We are certain that the implementation of the principles of GIFT will deploy strategic actions in our city that will allow us to achieve better sustainable actions that can be measured in terms of tax transparency and in terms of accountability and also citizen participation. Essentially, the GIFT strategy is bringing us better cross-sectoral approach, and this has already yielded fruit because in order to incorporate GIFT, we created a network of joint work among different entities such as the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Planning, the Ministry of the Interior, the Institute for Participation, and the rest of the ministries of the state. We are not only talking about the work within Bogota, because we also saw peer-to-peer work, for instance, between government and CSOs and other stakeholders that are interested in tax transparency. And this is something very important for all the activities we're carrying out. Today, we have an open data platform in Bogota, which consolidates in a clear way and a very transparent way the fight against corruption and seeks to improve the relationship between the citizens and the district authorities by creating a situation of trust by providing clear and transparent information. Because accessing clear, relevant, and useful information on the activities of the government and generating a better interaction between the citizens and the government allows for the transparency to exist and and allows for this transparency to be a reality in the city. And like that, we can also enable these processes in the rest of the country. What actions have we been carrying out as mayorship? Well, from the mayor's office, we have prepared different reforms and we have decided to design guidelines and standards that allow us to appropriate from the district authorities transparency. For instance, we can talk about the 198 decree issued by the mayoress of Bogota, seeking to establish general guidelines on transparency, integrity, anti-corruption measures in order for all the entities of the district level have the same line of work, and that we can all contribute to this urgent need of the city, which is transparency. And of course, within this decree, there are specific actions that relate to transparency, to fiscal transparency. And for instance, the Ministry of Finance has been working with the Fiscal Observatory, and we present the state of public debt, the distribution of resources by sector, the public budgeting from which knowledge is built, and also data are generated for transparency. On the other hand, the development plan also foresees or takes into account that program, which is the observatory for on the quality of public expenditure, because fiscal transparency is also focusing on how general expenditure is having an impact. Financial expenses with scarce resources in countries like ours are being observed and are also being administered in order to bring solutions of high impact to the vulnerable populations in our country. One of the most important progresses we have seen in terms of fiscal transparency and in terms of working hand in hand with the citizenship are participatory budgeting. In 2020, we consider, together with the citizenship, a series of budgets of 431 billion pesos for the citizenship to be themselves the judge, the best judge to decide how to spend their own resources. The citizens talked about 241 billion pesos for the economic reactivation after the difficulties brought by the COVID-19 pandemic, 138 billion in order to prevent domestic violence. It is the first time that the citizens of Bogota are raising their voices as strong in order to see how, in order to tell us how we need to intervene and prevent violence. 52 billion pesos for protecting animals. It is the first time in history, in the history of the city, that we see that protecting animals and the acknowledgement of the rights of animals on the table is part of our culture and our society. So that is one of the examples of how we have moved forward in terms of fiscal transparency. And something very important that we wanted to mention is that we are connecting to other transparency initiatives. GIFT is one, only one, but we are connecting to other transparency initiatives on the international level because we consider that we have to have different scenarios and different ways and different models in order to combine them and have results. And in that sense, we are working with COS, which is the Transparency Initiative as regards public expenditure for infrastructure. And Bogota is currently working to disseminate this information, the information of a series of strategic projects, for instance, for the subway, which amount to 7 billion pesos. And as part of the initiative of COS, we're going to incorporate different projects that ensure that the principles and the experience, the principles of GIFT and the experience we're going to learn or acquire through GIFT will only enrich all the rest of the projects we're implementing. In And to the latter, we are also strengthening the work of the citizens. The information that citizens demand for their social services has to be information that is relevant, that is timely, that is of quality, and above all, that is presented in the language that the citizens require and understand to be able to use this information, to be able to replicate it and to have a real social impact. In that sense, we are also working together with Open Contracting Partnership because we acknowledge that the public hiring is an exercise that definitely needs having the needs monitoring, and it needs a level of high level of transparency in order to close the door to any type of corrupted actions. And that is also directly related to the proposal and the principles of GIFT.
Garantizar que la forma en la cual
Fiscal transparency also relates to monitoring that the way resources are being earmarked is the correct one, and that this is proposed in an integral manner. Involving local governments in the different global development strategies is something that is growing stronger every time in the international community and tries to ensure the achievement of our goals. In Bogota, we are very happy and very proud to be walking this path. And it is important to seek for other cities in Colombia and the rest of Latin America can follow this path. We are certain that adding partners and allies committed to the transparency agendas and those of public participation is the only way to transit to more democratic societies that grow faster than we have been growing so far. I would like to restate our thanks to GIVE. You have the commitment of Bogota to participate in different initiatives of the network and promote the fiscal transparency and budgeting transparency in the use of public resources. And of course, in order to share all the information and good practices we could generate from the city of Bogota in order to strengthen the process of subnational governments in the framework of GIFT. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on all the very exciting work that you are currently undertaking. You are going to reap those rewards of transparency. I think now if we can quickly move on to the state of Guanajuato and hear the information there about the actions that they're also doing in terms of transparency. So Erica Jasmine Ortega, the Director General of the budget, please do take us through all this interesting work. Thank you.
Muchísimas gracias.
Thank you very much. I'm going to speak in Spanish. So I think English and numbers is not a good combination for me. So that's why I'm using Spanish. But we do want to share our experience with you.
Your screen doesn't seem, I can see you screen sharing, but we're unable to actually see the presentation. Perhaps if you close it and try again, that might help.
Por ahí.
Ah, perfect. We see it. Beautiful. Thank you. Oh, it's gone again.
Por ahí ya lo verán.
We see it. Thank you. Please go ahead.
Gracias.
Thank you. Well, quite roughly, we would like to share some of what we're doing in Guanajuato in terms of the collaborations and the benefits we have had in the work with GIF. We would like to thank Aura, Juan Pablo for their technical support, and we have achieved results that have led us to transparency in the state. So we are going to talk about the aspects we are developing, and well, the partnership, how the open data portal works. I am really sorry. How this portal works, how this website works, what results we have achieved, what the positioning of budgetary transparency is in Guanajuato, and the benefits of collaborating with GIF. We're going to start with the scope of this collaboration, and we're going to talk about the fact that at the end of 2019, we started collaborating with GIF, and it was through their counseling that we walked through the stages of this process. It was from the design of a strategy to the visual design of the initiative. And this proposal emerged with the intention of being able to publish our portal once our fiscal package for the fiscal year 2021, 2021, in order to let the citizens know what the public policies were that we want to develop in the state of Guanajuato, but on a broader level. We didn't want to issue a document, but we wanted something to be extensive and collaborative together with the citizens. And it was through the portal, through the website, that within a few months' time, that was from July 2020 to November the same year, we published this website that included all this concept of budgeting, and that was not an isolated action, but rather based on that, we kept on improving the portal. And since that first publication, we have created a gender annex with quarterly updates where citizens can check by means of very dynamic infographics the issue of gender, what the beneficiaries are of this annex, how this resource is administered, and what areas of gender equality are being addressed. So this is one of the annexes that have been a reason for great satisfaction, and for which we have had a really positive feedback. We also have a connection for public works with photographies, and this part of the portal is helping us to portray the work. I think you cannot see the slides, right?
We can.
We stayed in aspectos a desarrollar. It's frozen there. We haven't seen any further.
Erika is mentioning that her presentation was not moving forward as she was speaking.
I see. So it's a bit stuck.
Ahí ya va avanzando un poquito.
Sí, ahí va,
Sí.
déjala ahí
Gracias.
si quieres.
Voy a cerrar esta parte porque como que la pongo en presentación y se me
Yeah, I
pierde.
am going to stop the presentation because then it doesn't, the slides do not change. So I was talking about the updates. In addition to the gender annex, we have the API. We also have a geo-referencing for public works with images. We have also added an annual program for expenditure assessment. And a very important point that has been of great use in this update of budgetary and planning instruments has been the aligning of the budgetary programs with these instruments, which allows us to give proper follow-up so that public policies can be implemented as per what we have planned as a state. Very generally, I would like to tell you that the portal is focused on the users. We have all the information of expenditure in one single platform. We try to have a very accessible language, and this is something very important we have been working on this year. We try to consolidate all of the stages of our budgetary cycle, which gives us the certainty that from planning to accountability, everything can be in a very transparent budgetary presentation. And we endeavor to have one format, to use one format for that, so that the citizens, regardless of the profile they have, can access the data in a standardized way, and that they can also generate analyses and also give feedback to the state. As a product of all the collaboration we have established since November 2020, we published our website, and this has an outreach to the population, to all types of citizens, from regular citizens to public institutions who would like to value the level of transparency there is in the state of Guanajuato. So I think this doesn't only stay within the limits of Guanajuato, but actually goes beyond its borders. And what are some of the results of this collaboration? And this is where we're going to boast about our achievements in such a short time that we have seen. Well, the website hasn't been out a year yet, and we already see great results, and that only motivates us to keep on working. In this first year of operations, we see tangible results. For instance, we are part of the local action plan by the creation of a transparency portal. In terms of budget, in a friendly and citizen-based scheme, we're also in collaboration or in connection with the National Commission of Human Rights. And there was a recommendation by them in order to focus on gender. So that's what we did. And to take into account the Sustainable Development Goal related to gender and some other SDGs, and who the beneficiaries are in each one of the areas of the SDGs. In addition to this, we have the citizen budgeting, which we are following up on, and we're trying to harmonize all the accounts, and all the numbers should be clear to the citizens from the moment of publication. And the issue of the portal has contributed to the generation of new knowledge and the state of Guanajuato. In this last diagnosis done by the Ministry of Finance, the Secretariat of Finance and Public Credit, there was an assessment to performance, and this was based on the georeferencing of works, and it was clear that our initiative was greatly praised by the Ministry of Finance, because we are yielding quarterly reports to the citizens on the different activities we're carrying out. So we actually saw a very important growth and very important progress. We moved from being the 7th place with a rating of 79%. We moved on to the 1st place in the country with a 94% rating. And of course, these implied very extensive tasks, but we did realize that having this portal was really added to our position in the country and to our performance. And also, in terms of the good practices of Coneval, Guanajuato is being proposed as one of the models of good practices among the states of Mexico. Also, on the economic level, we have been told that
I'm just mindful of time, so if you don't mind to kindly...
Sí.
Thank you.
Sí, perdón.
Yes, of course, I'm sorry. And well, of course, there are some strategies, some communication strategies. We have participated in a series of forums. by means of our portal, and we are going to start our data rally in Guanajuato with a truly Guanajuato identity, where we want to reach more and more people with this proposal. We see some benefits, and we have established some international alliances, such as the one we have today with you, and this only allows us to generate better information and go further. We still have some challenges ahead. We know we have some opportunities, but we are fully working hard together with the network and also with the help of the technical support you are providing in order to generate better content that can reach any type of citizens and contributes to the issue of fiscal transparency and budgetary transparency. So thank you very much for all the support we have received, all the peer-to-peer encounters, the whole process, and especially the space given to the state of Guanajuato for all this. We want to make use of this closeness in order to reach even more people and achieve the consolidation of our budgetary cycle and to strengthen the public policies of the state of Guanajuato. On my behalf, this would be it. And thank you very much for the space. Once again, I would like to congratulate GIFT for these first 10 years full of success.
Thank you very much for that very interesting presentation, and congratulations. You are doing excellent work there. And it's great to collaborate on this from a GIFT perspective. I'm mindful that we've actually run out of time, but I think if we take an extra 5 minutes for questions and any discussion items. So if you've got any pressing questions that you have for any of our presenters, I do realize Patrick has had to leave, but he did leave his contact information in our chat box. So please do get it from there and contact him at any stage or on that. But if you've got any questions for any of the other presenters or any other discussion items, please go ahead now. Okay, I'm not actually seeing any questions at this stage.
There are hands up, Raquel.
I just see them now. That was a bit of a delayed technology. So can we start with Jose? And then we can move on to Juan Pablo. You on mute, we can't hear you.
Oh, gracias, perdón, I'm sorry. Por el
No
chat le
worries.
escribí una pregunta a Juan
Thank you.
Pablo.
I have written a question in the chat about the volatility of local authorities. How much this can affect the network, basically. I think that Juan Pablo has also a question, as well as Roberto Enrique, regarding the requirements of the membership. Yes,
Please
I was
go
saying
ahead.
it before. As you know it, we are the transparency chapter. We've had some cases where some organizations have some corruption issues, and we have very strong requirements and some conditions to have some penalties. What are the other requirements to have these new members? Thank you for your questions.
Institutional questions. Let me address them quickly. Muy puntualmente.
Very briefly. The changes given for political reasons within the governments, we have experienced them at the national level during these 10 years. We've met many presidents in Brazil, in Mexico, in every country, in the Philippines, etc. And I mentioned in some countries that have had some significant changes from the political point of view and the way of governing. In every cases, we have maintained a relationship with the ministries of finances that had a lower profile, but we always kept that relationship. It is an excellent example. We've had so many presidents and governments, and sometimes you've been more active, right? And sometimes we've had to be, how can I say it, more modest in that collaboration and in the way of reaching those governments. When we have an opportunity, we try to take that opportunity, and we need to be more excited to try to go forward. It is like going back and forward at the national level, and we know that that can happen also at the local level. We also know that at the local level, and especially in big cities, there's a certain service that is permanent. And when those commitments are like the ones that we described, like the one of the city of Bogota, those commitments have a public interest and they will transcend for the public good. So we expect that we have that continuity. And I'm completely aware that there's a risk that the changes in the government can represent. We have experienced that at the national level. And we hope that we can have some balance at the local level. A central element is the citizenship participation. This will only be maintained if the citizens are demanding it. That's why it is so important to have the civil society participating, and in this collaborative perspective, but also the civil society can have this perspective of demanding so that we can have continuity for this agenda. And Roberto Fundes, director, promoted this subject and also the fight against corruption. And what is planned in the gift for the members that would choose a corruption path or that would close their spaces in a dramatical way. For example, if they would close the civic spaces and if they finished the different kinds of freedoms, well, that member would be invited to stop being a member. We don't have penalty mechanisms. So here we have the members who want to participate. If we had that kind of situation, we would kindly invite that member to stop being a member. Or if we don't know anything about a specific country during 2 years, we can tell that country that they have stopped being a member and that they're a partner now. So we have 2 or 3 mechanisms, but regarding the transparency subjects, comparing it to the corruption subjects, I mean, the incentives, the stimulus, the invitation has to be positive regarding these transparency subjects. If we think that transparency, I mean, that means that we should consider opacity also, but I insist. The invitation from the network is mainly through stimuli to learn from each other and to incorporate those experiences to improve at the level of the work done by our colleagues in the national level and now at the local level. I'd like to finish emphasizing that well, the word that I was looking for is that we are making some very certain decisions after, or some very accurate decisions after I heard Bogota and the government of Guanajuato. I think that there's a lot of leadership. And I'm thinking about countries in the African continent and in Asia and in the Americas. But the federal government, the Mexican federal government, could have a very good conversation. And I'm speaking with that confidence because I'm Mexican, and I think that they could have this warm conversation with our friends of Bogota. So welcome. And I hope that this will be a great path and journey of collaboration. Thank you very much.
Gracias, Juan Pablo.
Thank you very much, Juan Pablo. Thank you very much to all of the speakers today. This is a really exciting initiative, one that is going to be with us for quite a while. So I think this is one of the first of many conversations we're going to have on this going forward. Thank you very much. And I'd like to invite you to our session coming up in 3 hours' time on user engagement initiatives. That is also going to be a riveting session. So do join us if you can. On that note, thank you. Have a good day further, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Gracias. Felicidades, Bogotá y Guanajuato.
Gracias, hasta luego.
Thank you, and congratulations to Bogota and to Guanajuato.
Thank you, colleagues. This computer of mine is giving me headaches.
Yes, sorry I interrupted you.
No, that was the idea. That was the idea. And I was a little bit awkward that the presentation wasn't there, and not even myself. Yeah, thank you for letting me know. Because I was, the problem when you share a screen, I don't know, I have to learn. I've been trying to learn. But the problem when you share a screen is that you don't see what's happening.
I think that what we were doing is using the whiteboard, because I could see like the little pen. So when you share the screen, you have many options.
Okay.
So probably you selected the whiteboard instead of the screen sharing. So you have different options there.
So share screen, I should see, and then only host or participants, only host who can share. Oh, here I'm. But then if I share, well, anyway, I'll learn later.
You know what I normally do is I try and close my other windows before so that there's only selected windows. So like for now, I closed all my emails and stuff, and then I only have those presentations, and then it's easy because it selects that. Otherwise, if you've got a lot of windows, it sometimes goes to the wrong one.
Yeah, so usually when you click on share screen, it will show you the whiteboard and all the things that you have open. So if you have the PowerPoint open, for example, you need to click on the PowerPoint. And probably what you did was clicking on the whiteboard instead of the PowerPoint.
Oh, okay.
If I click now, I have Excel, Google Chrome, Word, many options. So I need to select the correct platform that I need to show.
So if you have it open before, then it becomes easier.
Yeah, but now we know that if I share my screen, then my video goes off. So with this computer, I better rely on you kindly sharing the screen. Anyway, let's allow Jan, who started really early today.
She looks so tired, yeah.
To take a break.
You still have
Thank
one more session though, but yeah, I'll try.
But you don't have to. No, you don't have to be there.
It's going to be very late for you.
Oh yeah,
No.
yeah.
Don't worry about it. We'll see you tomorrow.
And the interpreters also can have a break. So thank you very much.
Yeah, muchas gracias.
We don't need you here anymore.
No, muchas gracias.
For this small.
But Jan, really take a break, because tomorrow's session is a very important one, and you need to be fully rested, recovered, and energized. So don't
Tomorrow
worry.
Suad is facilitating and we're all set, so all good. But I'll be there, make sure things are smoothly, you know.
Yes, okay.
Have a good rest.
Okay. Thank you.
Well.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye everyone. Congratulations. We're
PM,
halfway
right?
there.
So there is only one issue regarding, and I know that I took a little bit more than 10 minutes, but at least 3 of my minutes were figuring out how to present. But Bogotá and Guanajuato went over time like a lot, at least 15 minutes. And I wonder if there is a way to letting them without interrupting. Interrupting is not a
because
problem.
it feels quite awkward, especially with the translation. It feels like, you know, there's that saying, you like an interrupting cow. It feels like you just come out of nowhere and say, you know, stop the bus.
Yeah, what I do, I send them a message via Zoom, but sometimes they still
don't see it.
So you really have to interrupt.
Yeah, the only option, Zoom should have an option where the screen allows the host to basically say, you have 1 minute left.
Yes.
Something like that.
An email to Zoom.
Or a timer, like.
No, well, that's the thing. When you're sharing your screen, it times for how long you've been presenting. That's what happens here, at least in my screen. It tells me. That's why I know that from the time I tried to share till the time I was done, it was 13 minutes. Because it told me.
There's a button on Zoom that flags you to speed up. So like this one. But
okay, yeah.
We can.
Oh, we could do that. We could do that.
We can press this.
We can coordinate, and we the 5 of us do it all at the same time, so they feel like the pressure.
Yeah.
That will come off a bit rude.
So all the GIF images will be speed up.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay, we'll see you later.
Okay,
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye-bye.
Bye.